Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Was tuned into Tokyo. Let's kill some of this. And I was listening to the head of the Bank of Japan, how they dealt with what they did last night, and it was interesting. I was wondering. I was looking at the charts. I have the dollar index up there. Let's just throw the dollar index real quick up over here. There it is, right there. But we're going to go over to the Japanese yen. It was interesting. I was wondering how much influence that had across the world. We were in a weekly. See how the what was it? Did I go into plus, or what is going on there? Did we go into a plus there? I think we did, actually. So we went into a plus and then back into a minus again. All right, let me just. Didn't even notice that, or they just plowed more data in. I guess maybe they just plowed more data in. It does that, out of nowhere. They put new data in. It's like this Blackpool thing that goes on. One moment it's not there, and the next moment it is there. And sometimes it can be weeks now where we don't see this data. Okay, and then it goes back into the cell again. All right, we'll just put it in there like that. Anyhow, you can see here the dollar. Let me get the chat line up too. The dollar. They what they did is they raised the range in Tokyo. So now it can go to 0.5, so half a percent. They've increased the range from 0.25, and it took the Nikkei down about 2.5%. But I was looking at the let's go over to the yen. That's where my head is at this morning, because I'm really questioning the whole mechanics of it all. I listened to the opposition. I listened to the government itself. I listened to the Bank of Japan. I listened to his speech live. That type of thing, or I guess it was the whole excerpt of it all. And you can see here, obviously, there was something. I guess they said this has been going on for a month. Okay, so here's 4 weeks, and they've been in meetings for and you can see this gap here, or not gap, this slide down in the beginning of the meeting. So they must confirm what they were talking about doing before. As someone that's been involved in politics and government, and that's what I mean when I say that aloud. Matter of fact, I was actually asked to step in and help out a state position, but that's regardless. And the end result is that the slide you saw in the Japanese. Let me get my chat line up too. Sorry about that, because I'm totally captivated by what we saw last night or this morning and how it's played out. And let me go with that, because remember, their markets are closed now, and I've been up for 3 hours, so I actually saw the tail end of what's going on in Japan. Why? Okay, all right. Hour ago, 7 hours ago. There we go. Now, let me go over to here and get into the chat line. And then from there, I will ramble about what I think is going on and what is it telling us. In other words, we look at these things, and I'm always looking at it. What does it tell us? What are we learning from this? That's what it really comes down to. And so, we've been in this weekly sell from here. Luckily, they can't change the spot market. I like that. What happened here? PC RAN problem needs to restart. Complete. We'll restart in 30 seconds. Complete. Okay. It's restarting. Okay, so, Rob, let me go. Okay, my computer that I watched the chat line on just restarted. Hence the reason why I never leave only one computer running. I have 4 computers using different aspects. All right, so let me just ramble about this until I get my chat line up. So what you have here is you have the let's just go like that, just in case, Robin. If you want to send something to me, Robin, do it through my messenger. And so what's happening here is this is where they obviously, a month before the meeting, they probably had an agenda developed. What you do is when you're in government and government policies, what you do is you, on a committee that's in charge of something, they put out an agenda about a month ahead of time. Okay, so, okay, there we go. We're back up on that computer. And So an agenda comes out a month ahead of time, and that's what caught my eye. I see this move here, this move right there, and then I see the same move when the committee starts. So the agenda's put out. They have an idea of what's going on. They know they're going to change the rates over the next month and a half, 2 months basically, because it's 8 weeks ago, literally. So the agenda comes out. Usually you put your agenda out at least 30 days ahead of time. And then you see the committee starts, and it does the same thing again. So by that point, they have a good idea how many voters on the committee will do what they are suggesting or what they think, and they're hearing opposition opinion, and it does that whole gig. That's how that works. That's exactly how that works. Okay? And so we're going to school this morning, trading, understanding the way government influences marketplace. And that's probably maybe going to be our title too. And so we're going to see here that the markets break down in Japan with the currency. Remember, we were in that massive rampage. Let's tighten this up a little bit. We're going to throw it up on J4X too. That was that massive rampage, yen out of control, flying high, not backing off. It was that type of action. Let's put the yen up there. And where are you, Mr. and Mrs. Yen? USD, JPY, right there. There we go. And let's put the weekly up there too at the same time to start it off. And so you have this massive run going on in the yen right there. That massive run, okay? And then, they realize they need to do something to straighten this out. Maybe that was a suggestion there. It's hard to say. But we know one thing for sure. The committee puts out what they're going to do. The Bank of Japan, steering committee or whatever committee they want to call it, puts out what they're thinking, okay? And then we go back over to Chicago Quant and we look at the way the daily acted. Oh, not there. But just widen that out. And so you see the daily probably saw, where's that button at? There it is. I'm going to get that button on there. There we go. So the committee puts out what they're planning on doing, and notice that's the top. That is the top. It's a head and shoulders, the whole bit. Breaks down, okay? Then they go to the meeting. This is when the meeting, now they're going to vote on it, okay? So now they're going to discuss, and they're going to decide what to do right here. And obviously it told us once once the agenda and the concept of what they wanted to do comes out, the markets adjust. And then they wait for the month, and there's discussion between members at given times, but you can't have a quorum. You can only talk to one individual at a time, another individual at a time, and that's what they do in government. And then the committee starts, and what happens again? It gets another slide, just like this slide. And then what did we have last night when they finally passed it? Another slide, almost the same percentages. The slide from here was a little bit greater because that was probably the real setup. This is when the committee is in session now, and they probably hadn't realized they have a majority, but they're going to be what they call democratic, and they're going to discuss it with everybody on the committee, and you're going to be able to voice your opinion and try to change minds. Then it's done. They've done the vote here, and this is what happens. It's like another slide, almost the same percentage of it, and you can see the weekly would not change. Our weekly refused to change throughout that whole thing. Over here on J4X, same thing. That weekly refused to change, because they knew that they were going to change the interest rates the way they did. And last night, what it did in the end was drove the Nikkei down about 2 3/4 percentage points. The Topex was down like 1 5/8, 1 7/8, something like that. In other words, 1 3/4. So that's just like a visual of a committee in government, or in this case here, the Bank of Japan, how it functions. And that's how when you understand what I just explained, what happens is that you start to appreciate how markets move. There are committees in the United States or in Europe or wherever, that following some type of democratic process. In like a more how do you say it? Less democratic countries, that fiat is instantly. That's why sometimes we see really wild moves, illiquidity and so forth, because money is running away. They don't have a second voice. They don't have a chance to negotiate or debate. The government says this is the way it's going to be, and bang, it happens, and that's the process. So today, is a perfect living live example of administrative structure in a democratic society, and in how it plays itself out. And that's exactly what we just saw. And you can see here, the weekly hasn't been changed from it. In other words, it would have been interesting if it had done the opposite. I wouldn't be able to say this, but it hasn't. And we see many times that's how it plays out. And you wonder, oh man, they knew ahead of time, or they benefited from it, and so forth and so on. All the complaints that we all have over the process. All right. So anyway, that's where we are. That's why the dollar is weaker against the yen, is because they've basically I know you could say, geez, Doc, why don't you just say they raised rates? Well, what they did is they raised the range. They can vacillate back and forth in a wider range now to adjust for world interest rates. That's what they can do. And they went from 0.25 to 0.5, which is not exactly, it's not even 1%, but that's the way a tight market functions. So, but this is a classic. When I looked at it, I went, I saw this. I said, that's when the committee started. Okay, that makes sense. So they knew that they had the votes at this point. This was the agenda. Once the agenda was put out, they probably had a good idea that it was going to get passed. So the bulk of the selling happened here. And notice it's been pretty much cruising along in that range. Then now, this is the classic, buy on rumor, sell on news, or in this case here, short on rumor. It depends on the side you're on. So in other words, if you're in Japan, obviously it's like, sell yen against the dollar because it's going to be cheaper to buy those yen back. And outside the United States, it's obviously the other side of it. Buy the yen because it's going to go up in value in its own way. So it depends on the currency and the pair you're in. And so that's what that is. This whole process right there is government making decisions about interest rates ahead of time right here, because the agenda comes out. I didn't even, I never talk about this, the mechanics. Sometimes I do and I don't. I kind of use a shorthand. In other words, I just say it because I've lived through it and I've been a part of it. And but that is how it works. An agenda comes out 30 days ahead of a committee. And then an important committee like this, obviously they paid a lot of attention to it. If the Bank of Japan says they're going to have a new open market committee that's going to decide about rates, and they put the agenda out right here, which they did, then you can see that most of the trading has been done already. And that's why our weekly caught it and stays in it. And you can see it's the same reason why our weekly caught it here. And so they match up very nicely. And so that's the name of the game. All right, let's get back to what's going on here. We started off with the dollar index. We'll take a quick peek again for those that like to trade the DXY. And DocDow has that on their platform, and there it is. There's the DXY. And you can see it's been sliding down, same as the dollar index we follow over at the Chicago Mercantile. And you can see here, obviously it's starting to bottom out even. There the green line is at 16 and change. And the dashed line is at 12, 11, 12 at change. So the green line is above now, and it's starting to try to turn up. And it's nature. So all that adjustment for the Bank of Japan has pretty much is in the market now. Unless there's something to boost the economy from it, which I kind of doubt. It just makes it, as they said, it made what the Bank of Japan and even the opposition political party said. What it does now is it makes it easier for companies to sell corporate bonds and more visibility for investors. That's what it really comes down to. That's what that was what even the opposition said that. So the opposition likes it, and so does the party in power. There we go. All right. And that, like I said, that'll probably be the title of this today. How those things function. All right, from there we slide over to. Oh, let's put the daily up there too, just to take a look at it. There's the daily, and as you can see over here on Chicago, same thing, dollar index, and you can see that same situation. And you can see that pretty much it's looks like the yen. Pretty much at the same spot, same time. And we have said that too, is that the Federal Reserve and all the world banks are working in concert. In other words, they work together. And so because they work together, it makes it easier for them to keep, I guess, what would you call it? Stability. That's what QE is all about, is stability. They're trying to cut down on if it wasn't for all this crazy spending, they had to get rid of Trump. And so with it, you have the COVID and you have all this worldwide chaos, and now you're going to see in the United States, you're going to hear the opposite. Matter of fact, I've seen some of the movie stars even come out now who said they supported, over the last 24, 48 hours, they're like, we supported all that COVID administrative stuff, and now we realize we were so wrong because it only hurt people, and that's what's really going on here. And so that's the whole process that's going on there. You can see that dollar's even joining in with the way the yen played. All right. From there, we go over to the euro. I saw the euros try to perk up this morning, which is nice. Again, I know people are probably confused. Why do Americans want the dollar to go down? It's because it's so strong. The thing is way too strong. There it is there. You can see it's trying to turn up right there. I know we have a red and a green the last I looked. Where is that at? Right there. And right there. Yeah, see we got a red, a green, and a red right there. It's trying to get up to the zero line. It was a little bit higher earlier. You can see we're still in that weekly buy. It's adjusted the same way. They all knew it. All the pairs trades knew what Japan was going to do. Matter of fact, I've said many a time, back when Swiss and yen were like walking lockstep, I kept on saying that the key to this whole marketplace is following the yen. We said that 6 months ago, 7 months ago when it was trading at 115. We talked about that here in the webinars. Matter of fact, some of the webinars are even labeled, follow the yen, follow the market. Let's go back to the yen again. We talked about this back then. When it was down here in the 115s. We even wrote an article. Didn't we write an article, Robin? Yeah, we did. We wrote an article even about it. We thought that the yen was the answer to following the way the markets function. They work. See, Robin, a strong U.S. dollar hurts U.S. exports. Exactly. Yeah, we can't sell things outside the country. It's tough enough. What it comes down to, we have so many choices here in America. And that's what they have eliminated to a great extent. This COVID stuff and the spending and all like that. They're trying to eliminate one of our strong suits. In other words, a strong what is very strong in America is to be able to buy something from Bangladesh. If you want to buy it from Bangladesh, you can buy it from China. You can buy it from England. You can buy it from California. You can buy it from New York State. You can buy it from Minnesota. In other words, there's so many opportunities and so many different varieties and different prices, depending on the caliber and what you can afford. That's it. That's what the whole beauty of the system is. They like to say we are 50 laboratories, and so every state does its own thing. That's why states are so powerful. They have the ability to do things even when the federal government tries to stop them. They still have a power to do things here because the founders realized that if you let the markets make the decision, after 100 and almost 70 years living here, 170 years, from 1618 to 1776. What is that? That's 158 years. After 158 years of living here and having religious freedom and free markets, they realized that that works a lot better than a government picking winners and losers. A government building regulations. And there's a lot of, there's a good slice of people in this country, a good third or a quarter, that want that socialism. They think that's the better way to go. But trust me, it doesn't work. If it did work, the Soviet Union would be here still. And so what it really comes down to here is when you look at this, we spotted that the yen was the key to this market. And as the yen rose, I'm sure our stock markets have been falling. It's been literally a symbiotic relationship. Let's just take a look at that real quick. Where's that? Right there. Over the same time period, I'm sure it's the same way. We have, let's put the yen up on 1, and there's the yen. Now let's put it up the S&P 500 on the on J4X. Where are you? US. There it is, right there. And let's get that weekly up there. Yeah. So what point is that time wise? That is December. So what is that? December, February, August. Okay, so that is back in December of 21. And this is, let's go back a little bit further. There's December of 21. It starts the upwardly move. It takes out that high there on the yen and then makes a higher low, builds another base, and then takes off in March. And where is our March of 21? There it is. Right in here. It's all part of this. And then the slide goes on and on and on. Now, it's obviously orderly in the sense of profit take, sell again, profit take. It's making lower lows and lower highs out of all this. And so that's and we were convinced that that was the name of the game. Now the question is, due to the fact that this is dropping, are we going to see the Santa Claus rally or start to see some firming up on the upside? That really blew right through my head. Be right back. Okay. That really, when I heard that this morning, that's why I started thinking about it hard. I saw the political lineup because I see the move and I go, okay, yeah, they put out the agenda. So the agenda is known by the voters themselves. No, it's not the population in the country, but the voters on the committee. So then that goes into the market because they know what the answer is going to be. They can count their own votes. They have a good idea what's going to get passed in the end. And so 2 months ago they knew. And now what we're seeing is this going to be a reverse head and shoulders on the stock market right here? In other words, will this low be about as best as it can do? This low here probably won't be challenged. In other words, it'll probably, it could probably come down to here. What is that? That's the 30. Let's widen that out. What is that? That's 30. What is that? That is, yes, S&P 500. So it's almost like 3,600, something like that. But it won't challenge the 3,500. So we are now where? At 38? Maybe we have another 100 on the downside at best. And then it's going to turn up. Or will it start to bottom here? Support this low last night. The markets fell apart from it too. Let me just show you how on our intraday tool, not with any math on it, just the chart itself, right there, how it reacted to it all. News came out, and that's what they did. They were lifting it up. It got up to almost 55. Can you see that right there? Let's fix that again. So it got up to 55. See what we can do here. Go like this. I was watching that last night. I thought that's interesting. And then they sold it down after the vote. They trapped them. They brought in buyers, sold it down. It's bottomed. And now the question is, are we really going to see this area again? Are we going to break underneath the 3,800 again? Is there some sellers still out there? We'll find out. Our math, let me go over to it itself. Our math, is moving down. Let's widen this out too, so you can see it better. You can see we've been in a sell for 4 days, and we're in a weekly sell, from Friday. And now the question is, do we start to bottom in here and get some legs? If we get into a weekly buy, this could be very interesting. So that's what we're going to be watching out for. All right, traders, from there we go back over to the currency pairs. But I see the commingling of the two at the moment. And I think that I still believe the yen was the answer. Maybe it's not going to be the thing to follow as much now because it's done. In other words, they've changed the rate over there. They 100% change from 0.25 to 0.50. That's pretty. That's a doubling of their range. So they're in the top 4 or 5 economies in the world. I think they're just one economy larger than China or something like that. They're about equal, China and Japan, when it comes to the size of the economies. So I know people say, oh no, China's the second largest, but then they don't have a currency. So how can you measure something if you don't have a currency? You just have a policy. Sooner or later, people will realize how that works. When you don't have a currency, then it's just the policy of the government keeping it fixed until what happened to the Soviet Union. After the Soviet Union, the ruble trading around in the 4s and 5s now is trading at, where's the ruble at now? Like 60 or 50 or 70? I don't know, something like that. Even it's not something anybody trades anymore. The currency that will not be named. That's pretty much what it is. But that's where it is. I mean, it's floating around in that area, even with it not being a very active product anymore. Yeah, it's trading at 70. So the currency used to be at 4 and 5 during the Soviet years, like the Chinese with the People's Bank of China, that type of thing. So, it's same situation. In other words, when you have a fixed, not a floating currency, you have no true value. You cannot define the value of it, really. And then you can't define the value of the country. In other words, it's GDP or its economy, or you can only measure cash flow. That's why the Democrats fight very hard in America to give China as much as they can, because they know without a floating currency, the only way you can measure it is through cash flow. And China is our largest trading partner. So they get, I don't know, what do they get? $200 billion a year out of us? They're like a colony. That's why I say they're like a colony. All right, anyhow, let's get over to the euro now. Let's get back to mundane thought, And there it is, the dollar euro. And you can see it's lifting up again, and it's, this is the weekly, and it pretty much tops out at the same spot too. As the yen was going kapooey, so was it. And now it's shifted gears and starting to lift. It's front running itself. Matter of fact, someone came on this morning and said, I heard somebody on one of the American financial channels that I trust said, the stock market bottomed in 1982 before Volcker had stopped raising rates. He was still keeping money tight, and government policy was changed to adjust for that situation. And that's under Ronald Reagan. So he opened up the markets. He freed up markets, lowered taxes. And so when you take money away from government, you reduce inflation. That's why they need to vote down this bill on Thursday. Because they're just going to add more inflation to our economy if they vote yes on the bill. All right. From there, where else is it? So you can see here, same thing, same strength, relatively well. It's moving along. I would imagine that's, we'll see the stock market start to find a way to stock market is like a checking account. It's probably like the most liquid assets floating around. Because you're getting everyday up to date value in the stock market, whereas in some of these other products, they're kind of more long term. They're not designed to be going in and out of as much as like the bond market. That's why there's not even a listed exchange for the bond market. The bond market is an over the counter market. The only thing listed is basically the futures contracts. All right. From there, we go over to the British pound. Right. There's it's GBP USD right there. There we are. And you can see it's bouncing up. A little weakness there. This is the weekly. Let's put the daily up there. Oh, let's put it up over here first so we can see both at the same time. And there's cable. We're holding up pretty well on the weekly. We're not moving down at all. This will probably switch soon. Not there. Right there. And there's the daily. You see it's been moving down just like ours over here. That weakness. And you can see here it's trying to perk its head up. And you can see, let's see, the green line is trading at 7.9, almost 8, basically at 8. And the dashed line is trading at 16. So it's still underneath. So this is still underneath. It hasn't started to turn yet. It is turning. It is turning. I'm wrong about that. It's turning, but it's not through the zero line, and neither are we. Both of them are both hovering underneath it at the moment. All right. From there, we drift over to the Swiss, and somehow or another, the Swiss, because of Credit Suisse, I guess, really put a strange push into that currency for a while, but it seems to have straightened out now. And you'd be surprised. Remember, I said it. I did say that too at one point in the webinars. I was like, "Is there a relationship between the Swiss moving money out, or the Japanese moving money out of Switzerland, or something like that?" In other words, I at one point I thought they moved too close together. Could there be an influence? You're back. He's back. Yeah, could it be an influence? We could see the influence. We just didn't know what the influence is. Now we know what the influence is. So we finally got the story. And as you can see here, the yen, not the yen, the Swiss, is in a daily sell right there. No, that's cable. There it is. And it's going back into the sell. That's what it is. So it was in the buy for a couple days here, just like us, right there. And now it's breaking down again and trying to head back down again. And let's just see what that looks like on a week-to basis. The week-to-week basis, right there. And there it is. And that's moving down. Same way, same pressure. But, again, in a world where they're fighting to keep stability, that's the... that's where we're really at. I mean, that's what quantitative easing is all about, is keep stability. They want the status quo to survive. That's what they want. In other words, we thought we were going to do it for like 2 years, but once Democrats got their hands on it, oh boy, it's now, is it 14 years? Yeah, it's going on 15 years. 2000, it'll be towards November of 2023, it'll be 15 years. So we are 14 full years into it, going on its 15th year. They're able to spend money. That's what they like. They like to spend money and stop markets from moving. That's what they like. All right. What else we can say about the Swiss? Not much more than that. It just is what it is. All right. The charts are all doing a good job telling us which way to be in it. Now from there, we've done the yen already. So we are extremely clear what's, where the yen is and what's going on. It was the leader. We thought it was the leader. We even wrote an article about it. We just didn't think it was going to go as far. I think we saw it going from 115 to like 125 or something like that. It got to 155. It just was a rampage, you know. And our math kept us honest through it all, but we didn't really know that how bad it was going to be. You know, we just knew it was going in that direction. We had the right direction. We just didn't know how bad it was going to be. And that's what's the beauty of our math. It picks up the direction, and it's a consciousness. It realizes, not like an AI, but like a consciousness itself. It feels the materialism of it all. It's interesting. All right, and then from there we jump over to the Turkish lira. Talk about consciousness. Euro Turkish lira right there. And it's holding firm. That's the weekly. See what it looks like over here. There it is. And you can see it went into it. It didn't get into the sell yesterday because it was green and red. And now it is trying to turn up again, lifting back up again, and long weekly buy. And you know what we should do is we should take a look and see if the dollar, if they're washing out. I would think it would take another week, but let's take a look and see what the dollar Turkish lira looks like. But I would still think it's in a weekly sell. Yeah, they have to wash out these things here, these wild numbers. So, and you notice it won't go anywhere now. After all those wild moves, it's trapped in between the 1860 to 1870-ish area now for, you know, almost like, this is the daily, right? Yeah. So, and even so, 1890s down to the 1840s? No, 55 area. So it's been trapped inside that range for a while now. And it's probably going to be that way unless we get more wild stuff like this that was going on for months. We were getting those wild moves. Look at those wild moves. You know, now it's kind of smoothing out. It's kind of done and over with. So, all right, from there, where do we go from there? We go back to the Euro Turkish lira, just real quick to finish it up. So I was just curious. And what else can we say about it up on J4X? Basically the same gig. You know, it's the same action. Let's put the daily in there. And there it is there. Tried to go into sell for a couple of days. You can see that little weakness we had there, but it didn't. It really, our math just wouldn't do it. It's still in that buy. Silver? Sure. It's running firm and hot today. What we normally do is we go to the Canadian. So let's do this. We'll go to silver. And that's the metals complex. And we usually go right from there. We go to Canadian and gold. So we'll look at all three of them. So there's Canadian. We're going to throw Canadian on here. Let's put, where's it at? There it is. Let's put silver up on here. Come on, Mr. Mouse. Oh, I see. Gotta go like that. I should have put Canadian on the other chart too. There's silver. Looking very strong. That red and green, I'm sure that red is going to get washed out today. We'll see how it goes. I know that in gold, we're seeing that same thing. No, I'm sorry, we're not seeing the same thing. It's cleanly through without a green. So I can move that over. You'll see that. There's the green. There's no red. It's looking good in here. And the weeklies, neither weekly gave up. Weekly in gold did not give up. The weekly in silver did not give up. They both are holding. Matter of fact, look at silver. It bounced off the time manifold. It wouldn't even break down on the time manifold. It had no interest in doing that. And then, let's see, where's silver at here? Right there. There's silver. You know, perking its head up nicely. And let's put in the weekly for silver here on J4X. You can see here on J4X, same thing. It don't care. It's like a honey badger. It don't care. You know, and the same thing over in here. You know, it's just been very, very, very strong, that silver. Very strong. And when we put gold up on there, where are you, Mr. Gold? I gotta get used to this sequence. Right there, there's the gold. Gold, same thing on that weekly. Oh no, this is the daily. Okay, so it's going to be popping up. And you can see here, let's go back to gold over on this. You know, it's not, it's off its highs, of course, but you know, that's the weekly in the gold. And then let's put the daily up there. Right there. And then let's put Canadian up over here. And Canada, you know, has been on that upwardly drive, so it's been losing. Oh, I know what it is. We don't do Canada. Let's do South African Rand. It's a South African Rand we look at with the metals. So let's get South African Rand up there. Now, if it wasn't for that politics thing, you know, we're trapped in that triangle from the politics. And that's, we'll just call it the sofa money. You know how you lose money in the sofa? The president lost some money in the sofa. We'll just call it the sofa money. Let's see. And that is it's trying to straighten itself out. I guess they have to figure out what they want. I suggested yesterday they just accept the fact that they're corrupt and make them pay taxes on it. Because that big spike right here was they were hoping that the president would resign for taking that much cash as a gift. You know, it's just a little gift, I guess, in government. You know, $520,000, $500,000. How did they come up with 520? I wonder. What was the 500? He probably said, "I want $500,000, and I want you to give my son 20,000 or my daughter 20,000." I don't know. How did that work? Why did they go to 520,000? Why not just a flat $500,000? They threw 20,000 extra dollars into the game. Now you can see here it's trying to get into the daily sell comfortably here, which normal for this product is when it's going down, gold has a natural tendency to go up. And so it's trying to do it again. So maybe what we're going to see is more strength into the metals complex now that the Japanese have done their thing. That thing they do. All right. How's that, Robin? What do you think, huh? Any opinion? What did you think of the Japanese thing? We were so right about that, huh? We even wrote an article at the time, at the beginning of it, that it was breaking out. We just didn't know why it was breaking out. We didn't know it was going to go to 155 from 115. We just thought it would get up into the 125s, and then, you know, we said we'll follow the math. We always follow the math, and that's what we did. We followed the math, and it was so right for so long. We had no idea why they were doing it. The math was just telling us they're doing it. Let's do it. Do it, do it, do it. All right, now from the South African Rand, we'll go over to the energy concept. Let's put crude oil, light, sweet Texas crude. And there that is, and it's been marching down, you know, and that's pretty cool. And so from that, the Canadian should be marching up. Let's put the Canadian up there again. And what has it been doing over the same kind of time period? Marching up. And obviously nothing ever moves in a straight fashion. That's the beauty of a free market. Not a fixed market. And that's what we live with, a combination of both, a fixed and free market at times. And that could be the real title, fixed market versus free market, more than anything else. Because if I start up with the politics, they're going to be totally confused. They're going to be, oh my God, he's some type of crazy Trumper. Oh my God. Instead, we're just free market people. That's all we are. All right, so that pretty much completes there. Now let's finish off the Mexican peso. See how the Mexican peso is doing here. Dollar mix right there. And put it up over here. There it is right there. And you can see there, you got the, it's doing the same thing. It's starting to break down a little bit, not a lot. We'll see. It's at the bottom end of the range that had been surviving for a couple of years. We drifted underneath it. Now we're back in it again. And then, what are we doing from there? I'm not even sure what that is. Let me see if I can move that. Does that have an influence on that? It does. Oh, I see it is. It's 1.61. That's what that is. So, okay. We should change that color. 1.61. 1.61. Should make it like that and dashy lines like that or something like that. There we go. So it doesn't confuse anybody. Actually, that does confuse me now. So let's change the color of it, that's all. How about black? Yeah, there we go. So I guess if we had Fibonacci'd from here down to there, that would give us an insight of the action. Let's try that for the fun of it. So we go like this to there, and you can see it got down into the 50 percentile of it. Played with it a little bit, and that's what that is there. Interesting. Fibonacci is a really good tool. It really is. It does a nice job. Thank goodness our math has the attributes and the starting, I guess you could say it's the starting nature in it already. So let's see from there. That is so cool. All right, from there, we go to the metals complex again. So I guess we can go look at gold and silver all over again. So right there's the gold, and it's doing fine. And we see the silver, same game, doing fine. We've already dissected these two. Let's go check out copper. We haven't seen copper yet. Copper, the lifeblood of China, so it's always an interesting. This is probably, in many ways, copper is probably more insightful what's going on in China than any other trading product out there. You can see it's trying to get into a buy. We got a green and a red today. It's held that weekly, so now that they have interest rates kind of stable, in other words, the Japanese are probably, maybe they might have been the last ones. Who knows? I mean, everybody else has moved. Now they've moved. Now the question is, because we've seen the U.S. bond market have its issues the last couple of days, so they knew something was coming. There it is there. There's the 30-year. Slid into a sell, but it's still holding on the weekly. Now, if this holds the bottom and starts to rise again, then I think you're going to start seeing a stock market that firms up too at the same time. All right. And you know what? Let's take a look at Bitcoin too while we're at it. Let's drift a little bit into some of the other areas we normally look at the very, 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 very end. And there it is there. And you can see it's trying to get back into the buy today. And a lot of times this leads. That's what's so cool about it. It leads. Let's put that sell in there like so. There we are. And we're getting this today from it. This is so cool. We're getting into the buy side of it. It's trying to get into that area again. Go, go, go. And you can see the weekly. We are in a weekly. We closed in a weekly last week. We'll see how that holds up. The faster side of the 3.5 is definitely trying. You can see it's drifted underneath the sell side. Let's see how it perks its head up over the next couple of days before the end of the week. It's only Tuesday. So we should have a good market all the way up until Thursday. So we got 3 good days of action as far as I can tell. Alrighty. Then, let's see, what do we got here? Let's see. let me see what we say about this. I just got something in physics. I'm dealing with Gödel, his proof, which is a wild thing in its own right, and now it's taken my brain and twisted it for a second. But I don't mind talking a teeny weeny little physics. It's he had a formula out there about I guess trying to prove how math is a solid foundation, and he had a formula that he created. I'm trying to think of the exact name of it. It's where is it at? The name incompleteness theorem. That's what it was. It was the incompleteness theorem. Anyway, I just got a response back on one of my physics networks about it. So anyhow, let's forget that and go on, because it really wrecks my brain. His incompleteness theorem is a whole talk about a rat's nest, or a can of worms, or my brain goes totally wonko when I get into there. So let's walk away from that. Walk away, Doc. Walk away. Don't look. Don't look. Walk away. All right. From there, and like I said, that's interesting. And what is the stock market doing again? Let's go back over to the stock market here. Let's see. Because I think that they're going to try to find a bottom from this. This could be the beginning of something. I can't wait to see how this plays out. Yeah, so they've done a nice little pop already. Nothing major. Just a little firming up. Let's see if it starts to make higher lows out of this whole thing. That's what the big question is. And these lines I put in there are areas where I recognize resistance. They're fun. They're always fun. All right, from what was it? We were in the metals. Oh, let's look at platinum. Let's see what platinum's doing this morning. We keep on thinking platinum's going to find its way back into the buy. Yes, there's the daily. It's starting already. Now this just has to perk its head up. We get back up to maybe 10. It gets back up to here. Good chances we are on the road of weekly buy again. And that would be very positive for the silver and the gold traders. That's for sure. Incomplete theorem. Oh my God. It's crazy shit. Gödel is crazy. Or I don't know if I spell his name. I say his name even right. Gödel. G-O. It's Scandi or something like that. So it's got all kinds of interesting accent marks. From there, we drive over to the energy sector, and there is, the crude oil lifting up a little bit. It's trying to get into a buy. The weekly's been in a sell for a few weeks, and let's look at Brent. Let's see what Brent is up to this morning. There's Brent right there. And it's showing the same weakness in many ways. Green line is at 42. The yellow line is at 56. So it's still having a little work to do there to get it moving back up again. Let's see what they're doing on the weekly with Brent. There's the weekly. We got 20 and so the weekly is turning up. You see that right there? The green line is above the dashed line. It's trading at 20 and a half, and this is trading at basically 17 and a half, 17.6. So it's starting to turn up. We haven't gotten the green hinky yet, but it's trying to turn up. Same situation here. We're through the manifold, as you can see right there, and it's trying to, it's trying to do its thing right there. Gets through that manifold, and the daily is trying to turn up. We got a green and a red. We get into the buy. This thing might lift up a little bit in there. All right, and then from there, we slide over to, where do we go to from there? We go to, we'll figure this out in a second. We go to natural gas. That's it. I saw them smacking natural gas this morning here in the States. California's probably pretending they're Europeans now, so they're paying 30 some odd for the cubic foot. But here in the States, we're paying only, minus California, we're paying 5.5 a cubic foot. I know, it's like 6 times more expensive in Europe. And you can see here, this is what, the weekly, right? So the green line is trading at 32, and it's underneath the dashed line. It's trading at 40 and change. So this is above it at the moment. Now, over here, let's put it up on Chicago. And there it is right there. And they're still smacking this thing. And it's having its issues, and it's in a weekly sell for 4 weeks. Let me go back to the weekly. Oh, there it is. There's a weekly. Yeah, so it's going in and out, in and out. And the Europeans are scratching their heads like, what up with those Americans? We're all going California we're become Californians. The Europeans are Californians, or the Californians are Europeans. You take your choice. Alrighty. From there, we drift over to that private corporation in Spain. It gives us the only insight. We saw that. It was backing off from the high 26s down to the low 26s yesterday. So there it is right there in euros. And it's in the 25s now. It's backing off just the same way the Americans are backing off. So wouldn't it be nice to see it get down to the 22s? And we've heard over and over again they've got it all figured out somewhere along the line. So they think that they have enough fuel for this year. Just have to stop the rockets from flying into Ukraine. That's all. All right, traders, that's about it. Unless someone wants to see something, I'm out of here. So I'll wait a few seconds and go from there before I start singing. All right, then. Happy trails to you until we meet again. That'll be tomorrow. Happy trails to you, to all our trading friends.